Shaboi, is your degree STEM designated, and what is the duration of your degree, if you could specify?
So as far as I know, usually a lot of like all of the tech degrees are STEM designated.
Okay.
Um, the duration of my degree is 2 years, so I'll be graduating in 2023.
Okay. Uh, Moving on, are there any on-campus or off-campus internships or part-time jobs such as teaching assistants or research assistants that are available, and what are those requirements, if you could specify?
So there are a lot of TA, RA opportunities. There are also grader opportunities that are there available on campus. There aren't any specific requirements for you. Obviously, everything is very competitive. So even if they are available, they are very rare, and you really have to, work hard to get them. And there aren't really any requirements for them as such. Like it'll really depend from one position to other. So if there is if it's very research specific, then they will have some kind of requirements, like depending on the topic of the research. But again, it differs from one position to other. For TAs, so if you're working as a TA in your second year, the main requirement would be you should have taken the course at a master's level in the first year. And like if you're working as a TA for undergrad, then again you should have taken a course or a similar course in your undergrad.
Okay.
Got it. Are there any specific companies which had come to your college for the job fair? And what skills or tools should one build to get an upper hand during this time?
Uh, so, um, like now, for now, all the career fairs are basically remote. So there are a variety of companies, a lot of finance companies that came to NYU. Uh, um, there were actually a lot to name. So there was IBM, there was GEP, there was JP Morgan Chase. Then there were a lot of startups that also um, that were hosted in the career fair. So uh, apart from the career fair, my program specifically has these information sessions that happen every other Friday, where one particular company comes in and they introduce themselves and they basically hold a session to interact with the students and ask them like how to go about the application process. So, uh, like you said, like what skills would you have in order to stand out? So, from what I have heard, career fairs don't matter as much as, what you do other than that. Like, usually a lot of people get internships or jobs through like networking on LinkedIn or just applying online. And because the career fairs are remote, they're not really that important as what you do other than that. So um the skills that you would really develop is just how to like pitch yourself in the 5 minutes of the time that you get with the representative. And other than that, just working on your resume, just getting it reviewed by multiple people so that you can just put your best foot forward. Yeah, that's about it.
That's good to know. Moving forward, how is the job securing process and the job market in general? And since you must have definitely researched this, what is the approximate average base salary for your profile in your location?
Okay. So, I'll start with the job securing process. So, it's not really a very defined process as such. Like I said, the first thing that people do is they go about applying online um, to um, to the open jobs that you see either on LinkedIn, Indeed, or the job boards that are there, or the college job boards. Just a second. Yeah. So that's the first step. And then, other than that, what people do is either you network on LinkedIn, you ask your seniors for referrals, or So there are basically three things that you can do. Either you apply online, or you get a vanilla referral, which is basically just somebody in the company just refers you to the position. And the third one is like a proper referral where somebody recommends you to the team, which definitely is the best way to go about it. A vanilla referral just adds it doesn't really add as much as a proper referral that somebody like on a team refers you to the position. So these are the three things that basically people do to start off with. And then once you start receiving the interview calls, again the interview process for each role and each company is very different from each other. So like I'll talk about how it goes for data science. So um, from what I've experienced, usually there is either an assessment after, like that'll be the second step um, uh, of your application process. Either there's an assessment which will judge your coding skills, or there'll be like a behavioral round before the assessment that will you'll be asked basic behavioral questions. Then in the assessment, you'll be judged either on your SQL skills or your Python skills. And there also could be like so IBM has a coding round uh, wherein you're given a data set and you're supposed to build like a time forecasting kind of a question. So
Yeah.
either that could be there. Then the step after assessment is usually interviews where either you're asked to live code, or if it's like a product role, then you have to answer product case studies. And again, it could be 2 interviews, 3 interviews. It again depends from company to company. But this is like the basic skeleton of how the process goes.
Okay.
Got it. So, are there any resume tips you would like to share for A, while applying for the masters, and B, while applying for a job post your masters?
So for applying to your master's, or from like whatever I've researched, um, there are like three like you segregate your whole resume into your education, your experience, then your projects and your extracurriculars. So these are like the four sections that you segregated on the basis of. And whatever like you're putting in your statement of purpose. So the statement of purpose is more of a personalized part of your application. So in your resume, you're supposed to highlight all of the technical details that uh, to sort of support whatever you've done, whatever you've mentioned in your statement of purpose. So like if there are some projects, you're supposed to like highlight all of the technical details that you have achieved through that project.
Project. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And of course your extracurriculars. And one thing that I've done, like after, like for applying now for internships and jobs, is basically in from your projects. You don't have to sort of say what you've done. It should more be like what you've achieved through through your project, like what contribution. So supposedly in an internship, you shouldn't really say what you've done. You should say what you've achieved, or like what contribution you've really made, like what difference you've made through your internship or through your project. That should be one advice that even I have received.
Got it. Great.
Yeah.
Moving forward, how is the way of teaching in the USA different from that in India?
So the teaching in US is different in the sense that in India, basically, you go to a lecture, you attend a lecture, you're given some homework that you do, you don't do, that depends on you. But in the US, it's more of like they teach you and they expect you to do more than, what is basically done in India. Like you just don't sit in a class and you listen. So the main difference is the number of working hours here. So, for example, in India, you would have like 5 lectures in the week, so that adds up to around 5 hours a week for one subject. And in the US, it's just 1 or 2 hours per week, and but that is not the actual number of hours you put in the subject. The actual number of hours could be 15 to 16 per week on a particular subject, because the assignments that are given to you or the projects that are given to you, that consume the most of the time. So the focus here is not on what is taught in the class. It's more on what you like, how much you put in after the class on your assignments and projects. That is how you basically learn. And like, you yourself have to take the effort um to understand the subject. And because the assignments are such that, because they are not very straightforward, you are you're forced to sort of take that effort to learn different aspects of it, and then sit in the office hours, ask the professors, the TAs how to go about an assessment. So yeah, that is how it differs from what it is in India.
Basically, it's much more hands-on from what I can understand. Right?
Yes.
That's great, actually. Moving to our last question. Are you aware of any different types of scholarships available for international students at your university?
Okay, so for not just international students, but like for everybody, there is a DeepMind fellowship that is available at NYU, and it is it like barely like 1 or 2 students are chosen for the scholarship. So yeah, so that is like one of the scholarships that's available particularly to NYU. Other than that, there are a lot of scholarships for international students in the US that are available, which I think can be easily found online. And I couldn't really apply for any because like, you have to be really careful about the deadlines of these scholarships, because they are much prior to your application process also. So yeah.
Got it. Cool. So before we end this awesome video, Shambhavi, we have a personal question for you. What is your aspiration to be doing 10 to 20 years down the line? This is both professionally and personally.
Okay. So, uh, 10 to 20 years down the line. So currently, um, like, I'll first talk about what I want to do short term, then I'll talk about
Sure.
what I want to do long term. So, I'm inclined towards more of the product based roles, which is more of the product analytics part of data science. This is what I want to do currently. And maybe 10 or 20 years down the line, I do want to like start my own firm where I could, you know, work on product analytics. And yeah, I'm a little inclined towards research also, but I'm not really quite sure if I want to go there.
Oh, that's great.
Good to know.
I would just like to conclude now by saying that thank you so much for giving us your valuable time. You're seriously a very highly ambitious human being, especially for pursuing a challenging degree during the pandemic so far from home. And I'm sure you'll be an inspiration for everyone who will watch this video. Thank you so much.
Anand.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Hey folks, thank you for watching our video.
Please like and share this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Also, guys, please don't forget to mention your views in the comment section below, and see you soon with our next video.